Welcome to the Bozo Club. As Fani Willis is on a collision course with the Supreme Court, this is all about the calendar of trying to move her case suddenly up. It's a big emergency. Remember, timing is everything, and that's what exposes their fraud. Welcome to Doug in Exile. I'm Doug TenNapel. This is where the happy patriots are because the Democrats have nothing on Trump. It's not going to work, even if he goes to jail. I like getting all my news from Democrat sources because it's the best way to make your case on how weak their argument is. This is from Salon. Law professor says Trump delay in other cases, quote, opens a window for Fani Willis to hold trial within weeks. Now, Trump is not shaken by this. If anything, it is a huge credit to him and his case that they've had to move the timing around on all of their trials, because this is all about timing. You'll hear it throughout this entire article. Trump's delays in his federal criminal case could backfire, if Fulton County DA pushes for a simplified trial. They're floating these up as theories and opinions, hoping she bites and hoping she goes for it. Delays in Donald Trump's upcoming federal criminal trials could give Fulton District Attorney Fani Willis an opening to try the former president and his key alleged co-conspirators within weeks, legal experts say. Experts. The Supreme Court's recent decision not to expedite the consideration of Trump's immunity claim regarding charges relating to overturning the 2020 election was widely considered a win for the former president, ding, whose legal tactic has been to delay the proceedings until Election Day. Now, just remember, that's Trump's whole thing, is to delay. Trump is trying to, quote, stall his trials with the hope they will be delayed until after the election. David Schultz, professor of science at Hamline University, who is now exposed as a Democrat hack with no legal theory, mocked by this barely literate comic book artist, he told Salon, however, his delay tactics might push one or more trials into the general election season, which could be detrimental to his candidacy. They're also wrong about that. How's all this worked so far? 90 billion indictments against him, 90 billion counts, and it's only made his approval ratings go through the roof. So they still speculate. They still think one last hope. If we can just get him in jail, then we'll finally win. It's wishful thinking. Trump will only get more popular. Quote, criminal trials during the general election could be the October surprises that hurt his campaign, especially with a late October conviction if it were to occur, Schultz said. Again, wishful thinkings, that would be the worst move. This is free marketing for Trump. While the D.C. trial is set for March 4th, preparations are on hold as Trump argues that the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals could dismiss the federal election interference case because presidential immunity shields him from prosecution. Trump's documents trial in Florida, which is scheduled for May, also is widely expected to be delayed. That's with Judge Cannon. She has a brain in her head, so she's not falling for all this Democrat shenanigans. Yet another case is brewing before the Supreme Court, which has significant implications for the criminal prosecutions of the former president and could provide additional grounds for Trump to seek a delay. This is on the J6 defendants. Earlier this month, the Supreme Court agreed to hear an appeal brought by a man, a J6 man, charged with, quote, obstruction of an official proceeding related to January 6th, who is seeking to have criminal charge dismissed, which claims that he obstructed an official proceeding. He's saying, I didn't obstruct an official proceeding. I was just there at J6 as a normal protester. And Trump would similarly make the same case. If the Supreme Court goes in favor of this J6er, most likely the charges against Trump will follow suit. A favorable decision for the defense could undermine the 2 counts in Trump's indictment based on, quote, the same theory, legal experts told Salon. Experts. Considering the apparent delays in the federal cases that may not proceed this spring, it opens up a window for Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to potentially pursue the Georgia 2020 election subversion case against Trump and his allies in February, suggesting Clark Cunningham, also now discredited as a Democrat hack, a professor of law at Georgia State University. There are a number of reasons why it makes sense for the Georgia trial to go first, Cunningham pointed out, explaining that Willis has 4 cooperating witnesses. Four of them, one of them's the other one's Chesborough, barely cooperating, and everything they've exposed so far has helped her case zero. Notice also this article has said that Trump is trying to delay without mentioning that Fani Willis and Jack Smith are trying to speed things up purely for political reasons. A simplified trial, including Trump and co-defendants like campaign lawyers Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman, could take place before February to resolve the case before the election. They'd have to rip out a bunch of charges, greatly simplify their case, and obviously expose themselves to everyone as just trying to speed this thing up to take Trump out before the election. This goes to make my case even further that they're even talking about this. Yes, Fani Willis, go for it. Give it a try and expose yourself even more. If Willis waits until August to begin, she risks facing pushback from Trump's legal team, which has already argued that the trial would fall during general election campaign. It also has a chance of being undermined by all the wins Trump could get at the Supreme Court and the other trials. Quote, that would be the most effective election interference in the history of the United States. And I don't think anyone would want to be in that position, Trump's lawyer, Stephen Sadow, said. And it would be the most effective election interference, an attempt. It's not going to work. Even more important, if the trial isn't concluded by November and Trump is elected again, he's immediately going to file a motion in federal court to pause the ongoing case during his term of office. Quote, I think there's a pretty good chance that he would succeed in that effort, Cunningham says. So they all agree now they have to get Trump before Election Day in November, or they've got no case. Last week, Trump's legal team asked the judge to toss Trump's Georgia 2020 election criminal racketeering case, that's RICO, on First Amendment grounds, arguing that the indictment must be dismissed ahead of trial since the First Amendment, quote, not only embraces but encourages exactly the kind of behavior under attack in this indictment. Trump has a First Amendment right to say what he thinks happened in an election. So that takes care of the RICO charge. Remember, the Democrats had no idea this stuff would all backfire when they first threw this stuff up against the wall to try it. This is desperate. None of it has worked. If anything, it has broken back and only helped Trump. Without these indictments, he wouldn't be as high in the polls as he is now. This goes against even the rhino thinking and all the Washington Beltway that have said, oh, these indictments could really sway voters. It's not working so far. Because look, how is DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Chris Christie, Republicans, doing in the polls against Trump? Not well. Alternatively, if the judges review it and the Supreme Court subsequently accepts it, quote, it is very hard to see how that case is going to go to trial in March or even much any time in the spring, Cunningham said, because you have a Supreme Court case on the docket. I don't think they even meet till June unless they expedite this thing. But they're saying this is a huge collision course and a huge conflict between Fani Willis at the state level and the U.S. Supreme Court that are going to weigh in on Colorado. The Supreme Court's public credibility is at an all-time low, BS, as it's increasingly viewed as a, quote, politicized institution. What about Colorado Supreme Court? They don't mention that's a politicized institution. He explained, adding that now the court is also tasked with taking on another important case that they barely want to take because they don't want to get involved in these elections the way the Democrats are trying to use the legal system to remove Trump from politics. And when the Democrats say that the Supreme Court is a politicized institution, they just mean that they're not Democrat. That's all. And by the way, we believe that the Supreme Court could judge 9-0 against Colorado. That brings in all of the flaming liberals of Ketanji Jackson and Sotomayor. The Colorado Supreme Court decided last week to disqualify Trump from the state's 2024 ballot for his role in the January 6th insurrection. The case is likely to head to the U.S. Supreme Court in the weeks ahead. That's the big one. The Colorado removing him from the Supreme Court, they have to deal with that one. But that Colorado case is going to go through American history as the worst politicized justice move in our history. The Colorado case will likely take priority over Smith's request since it's, quote, more pressing and has broader implications across all 50 states, Schultz said. This is where we find out if the Supreme Court agrees with Colorado, it'll open up every other state to remove Trump off the ballot. Of course, and the Supreme Court is not going to allow that. And Schultz is wrong on even saying it has a chance. I mean, America is over and the Supreme Court knows it if that's what you're going to allow. And of course, every Republican can then remove every Democrat off the ballot at the state level. So is that what you want? No. Fani Willis is destroying this country. Jack Smith is destroying this country, and the Colorado Supreme Court is. And it's up to SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas and the gang, to come in and save America. And I believe they're going to do it. These are constructionist constitutionalists. They're not going to go with an old Civil War era insurrectionist clause that would remove Trump from the ballot. They know that is a pressing of the law well into Democrat politics. It's not going to work. You guys don't forget to subscribe. I'm Doug in Exile.